The following broadcast is a Nighthawk Network presentation.
Good evening, everyone. It's your boy E-Buck in the building, and this is the I Am Nighthawk podcast, also known as Get Off This Lawn. If you're listening to the radio component of this show, thank you for tuning in or looking in, whichever the case may be. I am here to discuss a few things that's been some stuff I've been thinking about in terms of what's going on in the news and in general. So that's what the show is about this evening. We're going to start it out first and foremost by saying that any of you who were the unfortunate victims of Hurricane Milton, our prayers are with you this evening. We are going to start out the discussion this evening with that particular episode of weather. Okay, now here's the thing, good people. I, of course, am a person who has lived in Michigan my entire life. So to fully understand what it is to go through what you go through in terms of living in hurricane country is something that I am struggling to figure out. So let's walk through this together, shall we? Keep in mind, hurricane country, which is basically, I say, anywhere along the coastline of the Atlantic Ocean, Gulf of Mexico. So any of those states, your Georgias, your Alabamas, your Floridas, obviously, the Carolinas, all of that. That is something that you guys contend with. And it appears, to me at least, as the years have gone on, there are more and more of these episodes that actually make it to our shorelines every year. In other words, there's at least 2 or 3 hurricanes that we have to contend with every year this time of year. Now, we have seen in the past, and you know the names, you guys would know better than I in terms of what hurricane did what, the type of destruction and basically just loss of everything that these particular storms cause. It is very, it's a lot. I guess the question I ask is it really worth it to contend with this on a regular basis to the extent that you guys do? Now, yeah, like I said, I understand that that part of the country, of course, is warm all times of year, and some people just don't deal with being cold well at all. I mean, this from a person living in Michigan where, you know, we're looking toward this time of year where, okay, we don't mind it being a little chilly, but when it gets cold and we get snow and ice and all that, that is basically our equivalent to dealing with hurricane season. But ideally, it seems to be a lot easier for me to contend with that than it is for you guys to contend with what you guys go through in terms of dealing with hurricane season. Now, some people look at it from the standpoint of, okay, part of it is just what you guys are seeing on the news. More times than not, when the hurricane passes over, yeah, you have some wind events and whatnot, but it doesn't cause all types of damage as often as it would appear. In other words, yeah, we go through it. Okay, we might have to get a couple windows fixed or what have you, or this and that, but it's not nothing to where you should be as concerned as you seem to be. But then I look at it from the standpoint of, okay, any weather event to where you can wake up the next morning and everything called house that you have no longer exists because it's been blown to bits. I don't know if dealing with it being warm every day is worth that. Okay. Now, of course, yeah, there's other parts of the country where there's warm weather and you can live at, and outside of it just getting extremely too warm at times, like in your Arizonas and parts of Texas and whatnot, you deal with that. But when it comes to a point where, okay, it's going to be at least 2 or 3 times a year where I may have to get the hell out of Dodge because whatever about to go on is something that normally humans don't deal with well, that's a bit much. It is. Okay, now, understand hurricanes bring multiple elements into play. You're not only dealing with the high amount of wind, which usually causes power outages and whatnot, and understand we as a people in this modern society that we live in America, we do not contend with not having power well. Okay. We are not our ancestors. There was a time in life, amazingly enough, when there was not such a thing called electricity. And basically you had your candles and whatever it was, and at night it was dark as dark, and what have you. But because we have become so accustomed to having our electric power so we can have our phones and tablets and computers and what have you, when we are without those things, even for a day or two, it's a large inconvenience to us. We don't always deal with it as well as we could. So imagine you go through a storm where it basically knocks out the power grid, period, to where, okay, not only do you not have power, the next few blocks don't have power. We talk about whole cities, whole counties not having any power for multiple days and weeks at a time. That's a lot. Just that component of that is a lot, okay? We're talking about a storm so powerful that it basically could take your workplace and make it shut down for weeks or months at a time, depending on whatever that workplace is. I mean, say, for example, if you're in the boating industry and you go through the hurricane and the hurricane basically just knocks out the arena and all the boats are blown to bits, it's a lot to deal with, okay? And understand, every year is not like that. Every place in Florida, Georgia is not like that. The hurricanes don't obviously hit the same spot every year, or you don't obviously get multiple hurricanes every year in certain spots. I get that. A lot of the hurricanes sometimes they hit and they're not quite as bad as others, but just the risk of it in and of itself is something that I would have trouble contending with. Just the anxiety of knowing, okay, this huge storm is coming this way, and should I or shouldn't I stay? Now, the other thing about it is this: because people have gone through these things for years and decades, they understand that if I leave here and leave my belongings to contend somewhere else, and in the meanwhile things aren't as bad, and then I come back and my belongings are not damaged by the storm, but are burglarized because I wasn't here and other people had access to them that I did not, that's a whole nother argument. Okay. And then the way that we are about the hard-earned things that we have bought with our hard-earned money, sometimes it's just hard to leave those things behind. So even though there are multiple warnings all the time about, okay, this place is about to get hit with a hurricane, you probably should evacuate. Please listen, please listen. There are still oftentimes groups of people that say, nope, I ain't going nowhere. Hand me some wood, we're gonna board the windows up, we're just gonna contend the best way we know how. It's gonna be all right. Now the problem is, more times than not, for everybody, it ain't gonna be all right. Okay, most people, yeah, work out that way. I know it's probably people down in Florida. Man, we've been getting hurricanes for years. Blah 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 blah. I done lived through them all. Okay, yeah, every now and then the floors might get wet up or something like. But we all right. It ain't as bad as it's made out in the media and what have you. But then there are other people who decide, yeah, I'm going to ride it out, and unfortunately, they're not going to see this podcast or anybody else's show because they are not going to be here to tell that story today. We know as the news goes on in the next few days, we will find out several people are no longer here. And in the end, when we trace, okay, could they have avoided not being here? More than likely, the answer is going to be yes. If they would have just left or they'd just been not here and there, they probably would have been okay. It's the sad truth of the matter. But again, yeah, like I said, we have other weather events that go on across the country. There's tornadoes. There, of course, is the earthquakes. There are the huge flash flood storms that happen outside of hurricanes and all of that. I get all that. I understand. There's a risk living pretty much anywhere in the country in terms of weather, depending on where you're at and what time of year and whatnot. Just like there is the hurricanes and the wind and the rain and all that. When it get extra cold here, it can get too cold. That can knock the power out. People can freeze to death, so on and so forth. I get it. Different strokes for different folks, I guess. But when I look at, okay, what level of dealing would I like to deal with when it comes to an area where I know more than likely hurricane is going to come into play, more often than not, that would be a hard sell for me, okay? Then, of course, there's the issue of, okay, when these things happen, what type of help can we receive immediately to get back on our feet, to get things back to some semblance of normal? And the whole argument that has happened in the last couple weeks about what FEMA's doing, where the federal emergency funds are going to and who they're going to, correctly or incorrectly, that has become an issue. Keep in mind, in a year where there's a presidential campaign, every little small thing becomes a thing, particularly when it affects positively or negatively any situation, okay? The sad part of the matter is our country is very divided. This vote will definitely indicate that there are going to be millions of people that vote one way or another way, primarily because of whatever side of the bread is buttered for them in terms of that. So, yeah, look at now. You've had the hurricane. A couple weeks from now, there'll be people that say, okay, I reached out for help. I got everything I needed. I'm thankful. I'm blessed. Okay, who did that? That was this administration. Yeah, I was kind of torn as to who to vote for, but because they looked out so well for me, I'm definitely going this way. There'll be people that'll say, okay, yeah, reached out for help. They didn't help me worth a damn. I blame this administration. Yeah, I'm definitely going to go the other way. I've probably been better off. There's that. But in terms of dealing with those situations, there's that. And then, of course, the monies that we oftentimes spend more of than we should in regards to our daily life involves this thing called insurance. And obviously, if you live in a place where more than likely you're going to cash in on said insurance, that insurance is either harder to get or basically is a scenario where that insurance doesn't cover everything you need covered. From my understanding, there's basically two types of insurance in hurricane country. There's the basic insurance that covers the basic stuff. Then there's the real insurance that covers everything. And those are two entirely different price ranges. Now, I don't know that to be true because, again, like I said, don't live in hurricane country. Don't know enough about how that works. You guys, if you are listening in, you probably can break that down to me more so than what I know. Because like I said, I live here in a place that don't get hurricanes, so I'm not fully that. But when you look at the scenario as it stands, I would say overall, even though I oftentimes get on Florida and their state government on how they could deal with everything, I feel like they have done a pretty good job in terms of informing people and offering resources and working with the government agencies. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, they will get most things restored. Fortunately, the storm was a bad one, but not as bad as predicted. And of course, that sometimes is a problem as well when basically it's predicted to be a certain way and it's not so that when the next time comes, you're like, okay, well, see, they said that about the last storm. And in the end, it wasn't that bad at all. So yeah, I'm not gonna worry about it this time. I'm gonna stay, and that might be a very fatal decision on your part. It's hard because, like I said, in this day and age of government where we don't completely trust the government or the media or anything else, it's hard to say what we should contend with and what we shouldn't contend with, you know? So, like I said, just in the end, prayers for anybody who has been affected by either this hurricane or the last one, Helene, and are still recovering from that. Hopefully, all is well and good time with you guys, and just living in Hurricane Alley. I imagine the good outweighs the bad in your mind. Good luck to you. Me myself, I think I'm good here. Okay, my mind may, like I said, I'm 53. Mine is constantly evolving. I might change my whole opinion on that years from now, but as I sit right now, I'm good. I'm good. Okay, we're gonna take a commercial break. When we come back, we got to talk about the latest going on in the P. Diddy trial. Then I have some things to discuss in regards to this election thing. Fortunately, in another month or so, it will be. Well, no, I won't even say it'll be over. We'll talk. We'll talk. Just give me a minute to formulate my thoughts on that one. This is I Am Nighthawk. Get off this lawn. We'll be back.
We're not asking for your permission. We're not seeking your approval. We're claiming what's ours in the name of our ancestors. We are their answered prayers. This is more than a movement. This is a revolution. Black innocence. What are yours today?
Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk.
All right, we are back to the I Am Nighthawk / Get Off This Lawn Pod show. I am your host, eBuck, here to discuss with y'all some of the thoughts I have in regards to basically current events and things of that nature this week. Okay, we are now going to get into the subject that keeps on giving. We said this was going to be a long process, and so far that has been the case. We are, of course, talking about the basically upcoming trial of the one and only Sean P. Diddy Puffy Combs. As you guys know, there has been another attempt by his legal team to get him out of prison at this point. Shout out to Ro. What's going on, Ro? Thanks for checking in. We appreciate you as always. We are still trying to determine just to what degree and what extent all these things are going to take place involving this trial and what's going to be what and what he's going to be tried for and how many more charges will be added and all that good stuff. We're still figuring all that out. The three things that's basically been on the minds of everyone is one, okay, should Diddy be free right now at all? Or should he just be sitting there waiting for trial? I personally feel like because we only have a semi-understanding of everything he's being tried for, actually Rhoda is in the building, she probably have a better understanding of some of the charges. She's discussed that on her show. That is Road to Stardom Radio. There is a component of Road to Stardom Radio, which is behind the headlines, I believe, the BOE, where they discuss these things on a weekly basis, usually on a Wednesday, as I recall. So please check her out on Blog Talk Radio, Spotify, Apple Music, pretty much anywhere where podcasts are. I prefer to check it out on Spotify myself, so you definitely can find it there. The thing is, people, it's a litany, a whole litany of charges by Diddy Combs. And I think the government is still formulating a case at this time to its fullest extent, but they have enough on him right now to keep him in prison. I think at this point, even if Diddy offered every dime and dollar he got right now, it would not be enough to get him released from prison at this point. Not to mention, even if he was released, does that really help him or hurt him? Either way, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Some of us, of course, question, okay, well, if Diddy would have been ... if Diddy would have been a different ethnicity, if Diddy would have had just a little bit more money, if Diddy would have been running for political office, would he be in prison right now? I think we know the answer to most of those. I think we do. But in terms of that, right now, like I said, I'm trying to be impartial about it and give him the benefit of the doubt. But as we all know, the video where he basically did Kathy extra dirty, we seen the video. We know what it is. That is fueling a lot of what that thought process is right now. It appears the case does revolve around her to a large degree. And my assumption is that she will be a witness at the trial. They're constantly following her right now to kind of get her reactions and whatnot. So, even though she had the lawsuit money and whatnot, I imagine it was something significant. It still will be a lot to have to contend with from day to day, just trying to live some semblance of a normal life with TMZ and everybody else following you around, asking you the same doggone questions that you really can't talk about because you're part of the trial. And they understand that, but of course, trying to get the clickbaits and the likes and the big story is going to continue. So yeah, there's that. Then of course, anybody in Diddy's immediate circle has to contend with this on a daily basis. So that would be particularly his mom, who they've then sat down for interviews and whatnot. Obviously his children, particularly his younger children. Man, I could not imagine what that must be like to, one, have your father in prison so you really can't discuss with him the way you need to, but to basically have him be a person in the public eye that you have to not only contend with as a father, but a public figure as well, so that it's constantly being discussed. And then, of course, people know that Sean Puff Diddy Combs is your father. Of course, they're going to ask this and that, and be watching your every move. So there's that you have to live with. So there's the stress of that. Now, of course, beyond the realm of that, the big question that everybody seems to want to know was, okay, you know Diddy, right? You hung out with Diddy, right? Were you at the freak offs? What was your involvement with John Diddy Combs, period? And understanding that Diddy is a huge music mogul, also huge fashion icon, also Hollywood player. He knows a lot of famous people. He has been seen, partied, hung out with many of Hollywood's elite, many of some of the political elite even. It's a lot of people that may have to answer that question. And some of them may have to put their hand on that Bible and lift the other hand in a court of law and have to discuss that later on down the line too. And obviously, it's a thing, okay? It seems like every day somebody's name is being thrown in this mix, and people want to know, okay, so yeah, we found this picture of you and Diddy this. We got this video of you and Diddy that. You got this interview you did about Diddy this and this and this, and they want to revisit and discuss these things. So, some of the names that it came up in recent days, obviously, the whole Beyonce and whatchamacallit, Kevin Hart. There's another one that Road has brought up. That name has came up. He's hosted some Diddy parties and have tapes and videos of that. Justin Bieber, some of the interviews in regards to what him and Diddy talked about, even an interview that him and Diddy did together, that has come into play. The whole thing with Beyonce and Jay-Z, there's that scenario. There's Usher, there's Jamie Foxx, whole R. Kelly thing, that's come into play, and how they have ties with each other. The fact that some people say some of the charges that might be brought up involve minors at some point. So there's that connection to it all. Like I said, we knew this thing could get ugly, but it appears this thing may get extra, extra ugly, okay? In an ideal world, you would think sometime next year, whatever trial there's going to be is going to be had. But based on what we're starting to learn, it's so many different legs to this spider. This may go on for years before we even get to trial. Okay. And keep in mind, that's only one component of this story. The other component is that basically anybody who feels like they can cash out on this scenario is coming to the forefront and saying, okay, yeah, me too, me too, me too. Can I get my lawsuit on? Can I get a cut of that bread? Okay. Diddy did me, Diddy did me, Diddy did me. So then there's that. There's over 100 plus lawsuits filed at this point that we know of. Okay. And I imagine, like I said, if there's any way, shape, or form that you could connect yourself to Diddy in a bad way to where it could get you paid, I imagine you are already, if you haven't done so, at least working on getting that process did. So there is that. Like I said, if you're tired of the story, you just got to be tired. Just like they not like us, you're gonna hear a lot of Diddy talk, just like you'll hear that doggone song for the months and years to come, it seems like, because this is still just the beginning of what this story may eventually be in regards to Sean Puff Daddy Combs. Even if by some crazy means this man manages to get off the hook and be found not guilty of the vast majority of things he's been accused of, his life has been ruined forever. Not only his, but basically the people that are in his circle as well. And then, of course, like I said, we still wait for the other shoe to drop. People's involvement and to what degree they was involved, it may also ruin the lives of several other people in Hollywood. To the point to where, okay, would it surprise you if somehow, some way, part of these things somehow mysteriously go away and we don't understand exactly what happened? It wouldn't be the first time in America stuff like that transpired. You kind of get what I'm saying. I'm going there without going there. But yeah, I am curious to see how this all plays out. And of course, we will keep you informed as we learn more details. Again, like I said, you can also check out Road to Stardom. She is pretty locked into a lot of the goings on of the case. In fact, if you are unsure how to find Road, let's play that good old promotional thing that we made for her, and maybe that'll help you find the show. Sugar it out.
On Blog Talk Radio or where most great music podcasts are located. Don't forget to subscribe and show some love.
Again, basically you type in Road to Stardom Radio and several different platforms will pop up with Road to Stardom. Like I said, you can find her page on Facebook. You can find her Instagram page. You can find her TikTok page. You can find her on Spotify. You can find her on Apple Music. You can find her on Player FM. You can find her on Blog Talk Radio. You can find her on iHeartRadio. We've been doing this thing for a long time, and she is set up in a lot of places. So, however it is best for you to follow the show, we would very much appreciate if you find her there and check it out. Keep in mind, she is a person who supports independent music. So that is the primary focus, but also she does do things to promote small business and also talks about entertainment news as well. So all those things come into play. By all means, please check out our good friend Road to Stardom and look to see what you can see on that platform, okay? Or listen to some excellent music played on the Road to Stardom radio platform. So I think if nothing else, you will like it for that reason. All right, back to the show here. I said this is the I Am Nighthawk. Get off this long edition of this show. Like I said, you will be able to catch this show on the WTEA radio station, the fine internet radio station based out of College Park, Georgia. You will also be able to find this fine show on the newly formed Nighthawk Network Radio, of course, based out of the Nighthawk Network studios here in Detroit. That will be our station here. You definitely check out this episode. It will be on there sometime next 24 to 48 hours. You can check it out, listen to it then. If you have not caught all of it now or want to revisit it later on, we appreciate you. Thank you. All right. A couple other things we will discuss this week on the show. Definitely want to do an FYI. As you know, we are in this political cycle. We have talked about it in several episodes. We are going to go here again, basically pointing out that, yes, it is time for several of you who choose to get this thing over with and vote early to get your early vote on. Many of the states do offer that as an option, okay? The Promote Your Business show is next Wednesday at 9 p.m. So if you have a business to promote for Road Stardom Radio, please contact Road on, like I said, the platforms that I have laid out, including her Facebook page or her IG page. Get in touch with her that way and promote your business. She will do that for you. Thank you much. Okay, like I said, early vote. You can get into it. There are several different ways to go about it depending on what state you're in. Keep in mind, if you are unsure about what the policy is for early voting, or if you have early voting in your state, you can go to vote.gov. That is vote.gov. Look up your state and it will take you to the appropriate links. Also, you can look up your state internet service. Basically, here's Michigan.gov, but if you are in other places, it may be something different. And then a lot of the major metropolitan cities and even some of the medium-sized ones also have their own city website where you can go and find that information. As far as here in Michigan goes, there's early voting where you can vote by either absentee ballot or you can do an early voting site starting, I believe, next week. Now, here's the thing, good people. Different strokes, different folks. And because the United States is only united in name and not in statehood when it comes to certain things, voting being one of them, you have to be very certain about the rules and regulations that involve early voting. In an ideal world, it's probably in your best interest, if you are able to do so, to vote on election day. Understand that's an issue in and of itself. The former president, who is obviously running for office, has mentioned in several of his speeches, kind of very low-key like, but likes to throw it in there, that in an ideal world, he would not want it any other way but that. He would like for it to only be where people could vote on election day. He kind of has an issue with other ways to vote. I think that's partly because he blames that for him losing the last election, which he, of course, still refuses to admit that has happened. And one of the main go-tos he goes to is the fact that, okay, he questions the validity of some of the write-in votes and things of that nature. that he feels like that's how he got cheated. So because of that, he's already seemingly laying the groundwork for using that as an excuse in the event that he may lose this one. Okay. So keeping that in mind, they are going to definitely be scrutinizing every vote that is, okay, including the ones on election day. But in particular, anything that is of an absentee ballot or write-in ballot nature, okay? So keeping that in mind, a few simple things. One, when you're filling out your absentee ballot, make sure all the pertinent information that is needed is properly and correctly filled out in a ink that is legible and is a proper color. More times than not, if you have black ink, you are pretty much good to go. Pencil, I'm not so sure about. I think it may be a number 2 situation in terms of that. I think even in some cases, pencil may not be good enough. Not to mention the fact that, remember, because pencil can be erased, there is always that concern that somebody may take your ballot and say, okay, this ain't filled in right. Let me fill this in for them. Or this ain't filled in correctly. Let me erase that and put something else. I'm not saying these things are going to happen. I'm not saying these things did happen. I'm saying these things could possibly happen and got to be of a concern, okay? Understand that when you fill out your ballot, it's one of those scenarios where you got the circle to fill in to determine your candidate, that you need to fill in that circle nice and full. Like, keep in mind, if you're on the radio side, you don't see this, but obviously if you are on the side of the video, you see how that is circled in and fully. You know, you can't like partially circle it in. You shouldn't go over the circle too much. Anything, any excuse that they will use in some cases to invalidate your ballot, that very well could happen, okay? You need to be very, very careful as to how you fill out that ballot and what it looks like as you turn it in. If there are any extra extraneous marks, they may use that as an excuse not to use your ballot. If you have filled out the name, in other words, you didn't put your middle name, or you put the wrong address, or it may be some simple as, okay, you're a Mr. and you didn't fill out that part. Any excuse they could possibly use to invalidate your ballot. So be very careful how you fill it out, okay? Another thing is, in an ideal world, this might be going a little bit too far over to the left with it, but if there's any way you can record yourself filling out the ballot, I wouldn't mind you doing that. There's any way you can basically take some screenshots of your ballot before you turn it in. I ain't so mad at that either. You definitely want to ensure that when you turn in said ballot, that it was filled out correctly and you did it and you know you did it and it's your signature and all that good stuff, okay? Understand there will be people who will purposely try to get extra votes in, who will purposely try to vote and they are unable to vote. They will do it purposely because in an ideal world, anything that they can utilize to invalidate that part of the process, I think they could potentially and will potentially use if it comes down to it. As we know, the numbers don't always tell the whole story. You know, they've been talking about the polls constantly. And they've been telling us based on the polls, it's going to be a close election. I'm telling you this based on people that I talk to, people on our little thing here, people that's out here, people on the news, what have you. We can tell it's going to be a close election. It seems very much like half the country is like, I'm with him, and half the country is like, I'm with her. So I honestly don't know how this thing's going to play out, okay? I think this time 4 years ago, I felt like in my heart of hearts, we knew he wasn't going to win, and ultimately he didn't. I'm not so sure about that this time, people. There are more of you that feel like it is a good choice to go that route or just a better choice than going the other route. So because of that, don't know how it's going to play out, but you want it to play out in a way where everybody could look at it like, okay, well, everything was fair and square and above board, and that's how it played out. He won, she won. Okay, let's move on. So because of that, me, myself, and my household, we are definitely voting on election day. I'm going down to the poll. I'm voting. I'm making sure everything is everything while I'm there. I'm putting my own personal ballot in the machine and seeing it go in for myself. I don't want no hokum pokum involved with my personal vote. Okay? Like I said, because some people they got to work that day. Some people not able to get to the polls. Some people not gonna want to stand up in them long lines and what I get all of that. My whole thing always is no matter how you vote, just please vote. Please be part of the process to where you can say later on, okay, well, I voted, this is not what I wanted, or I voted, this is what I want. As opposed to saying, okay, I didn't vote because in the end it don't matter. It matters. When some of the crazy things that may transpire one way or another, depending on what side of the bridge you're on, they happen, and then you look at like, how was they able to do that? If you didn't vote at all, you should not question anything. At that point, you're saying, okay, it ain't about what I wanted. It's about what y'all wanted. So I chose not to make my choice, and I'm going to live with whatever choice there is. That part. And then, of course, like I said, there's those of you who feel like it's already predetermined and all that. I don't know what to tell y'all. It's people in my own personal circle that feel that way. So I still love them all the same, but I just don't know what to say to that. I don't. I just don't agree with you. We'll leave it at that. We will agree to disagree with that particular opinion. Okay. There are many conspiracy theories out here in the world. We definitely will do a show about conspiracy theories sometime soon, but that's one I don't personally subscribe to myself. Okay, let us move forward here. Like I said, be very careful how you choose to put your vote in. Also, there are phone calls in regards to people wanting to know your vote and how you're voting and so on and so forth. Of course, you are not obligated to answer any of that, okay? And sometimes it's not about the phone call itself. It's about them wanting to record your voice for some other scam that they got going. Okay, we got to be very careful these days how we interact with these scammers on the phone and scammers in the email. Sometimes if it's an email situation and you're just not sure about the contents of said email before you even click on it or anything, just go ahead and dump that boy in the trash and deal with the consequences later. Okay, because sometimes, they legitimate emails and it was something of importance, and sometimes it was the scam, okay? Better safe than sorry, as far as I'm concerned. So if you get an email and it's in regards to something that you're not familiar with, especially if it says anything about click this link. Don't you click that damn link. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because that link might take you down a rabbit hole. It might eat you. I don't know what it might do, but don't you trust that link? And see, they say click your link. You better be very, 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 very sure before you click that link. And that goes for whether you got a phone or if you got a computer, what have you. I'm not a big Apple phone fan, but one of the things about it is Apple phones tend to have a lot less viral scenarios because they are Apple phones than our Android counterparts. Okay. They just set up differently. That's not to say that they can't get hacked and whatnot, because we know clearly that is the case that they can. They're just less likely to do so, from my understanding. I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm nerd squad to that degree, but I do understand some bits and pieces about it. So yeah, that is that part of the scenario. Okay, now we got about 45 minutes into the show. There are a few things that I've been thinking about that I definitely wants to get in the mix with before we head on out. First and foremost, it is that time of year as I'm sitting here now. sniffling a little bit. I apologize for that, but my allergies is bothering me as they tend to do this time of year with the weather change and all of that. That being said, I sit here and I view the fashion choices of some of the younger people in our society, and I question the thought process behind it. Okay, let me explain. Understand, for those of you who live in those parts of the countries where on a good day, cooler is 75, 80 degrees as opposed to 100, 110, this ain't really a discussion for y'all per se. But okay, let's just say, for example, if you are down in hurricane country today where Milton has taken place and most of the ground is very, very wet because of all the rain and whatnot, if you have chosen to step out your household in the standardized flops of flip-flops, as I call them, and walk around the streets of your fine city or county, and basically your feet is getting all type of wet, and you ain't happy about it because you messing up your designer flip-flops, that's on you, okay? In certain scenarios, you should wear some shoes or some boots, okay? The fact that some people have chosen to say, okay, no matter what, I'm wearing these flops. I'm wearing them whether it rain, whether it's windy, whether it's cold, I am wearing these flops. But because I have established that I'm not going to be touching the ground much, it's all good. In other words, I get a ride to school every day, so I ain't got to worry about that. I get a ride home every day. I get a ride to work. I take the Uber. I do this. I do that. So I ain't got to really walk around much. So I'd rather wear these flops because they comfortable to my feet. Now, you know, I've already talked about what could be the long-term effects of wearing flops every day on your arches and all of that. I ain't gonna bore you with that discussion again. But the whole thing is when you are doing all that and compromising your body's functions in terms of, okay, yeah, you ain't wearing no socks, you got these flops on, it's cold. Yeah, that's gonna affect your body in a way to where suddenly you sick now, you don't understand why. It could be that. Or it could be the fact that, okay, you decide, yeah, I'm too cute to wear a coat. And when I'm thinking of that, I'm thinking of one person in particular, but because I know they hardly ever watch this podcast, but they are a part of my external circle. If you do happen to catch this particular episode, I'm most definitely talking about you, girl. I ain't gonna lie to you. But all in all, you got to dress for the weather, okay? If it's cold, please dress like it's cold. Put on a sweater, put on a hoodie. If it's colder, put on a bigger hoodie, put on a bigger sweater. If you got a coat, wear a coat. It's crazy how some of y'all will walk around in these designer flip-flops, have the biggest $300-400 purse on your arm, but have no coat, no jacket. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Even for those of you who basically got a vehicle so that you feel like, well, I don't need all that because I'm gonna be in the car most of the time and all that. You never know when disaster may strike, okay? That car may run out of gas, that car might just break down on you, and now here you is stuck in the middle of somewhere in the cold with no coat and have to be sat there for hours at a time until the proper help comes along. It could get ugly. You should be better prepared to contend with the elements than what some of y'all are. That's all I'm saying with that one, okay? Next, let's talk Halloween, okay? Halloween that got out of hand. Halloween that got out of hand. Pretty much everywhere I go, Halloween on sale. Big time. Big time. It was once upon a time, you would go into your Kmart, you know, because back then it was Kmart, and Target, places like that, it'd be like maybe 3 aisles. Here's all your Halloween stuff in these 3 aisles, your costumes, your decorations, pumpkins, all that was right here. Now you go places and the whole store is dealing with Halloween, from the costumes to the food to the coffee to the everything. Halloween everything, pumpkin spice this and apple cinnamon that, and Halloween. So much so that they say this year Halloween will probably end up being the holiday where people have spent the second most amount of money outside of Christmas. And you already know how I feel about Christmas. But Halloween, okay? There are some of y'all love Halloween, and I don't want to be a hater to that degree. I understand this is get off this long, and this is a get off this long take for sure. But I think when it comes to these things, y'all going way overboard, okay? Now, I've seen some of the lawn that people are doing the holiday decorations with for the Halloween, and there's like multiple giant skeleton figurines. That appears to be the latest craze, to get the big giant skeleton and put it in the lawn. Okay, and it's all fine and good, but considering how much some of these things cost, some of these giant skeletons, and you are investing your time and money in that for something that you normally may only use for one holiday. Now, keep in mind, there are some of y'all done had that skeleton on the lawn all year. You done have made full utilization of it. You basically put baseball jersey on it in springtime and football jersey on him now. You'll put some Santa Claus stuff on him after Halloween and all of that. You get your money's worth to that degree. I guess I can't really argue that much. Make it be fun with it. Okay, cool. But I'm talking about all y'all that's basically that so much on Halloween. You got that skeleton thing. You got the blow up toys, the glow in the dark. You got, of course, all the jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkins and the lanterns and the candles. I mean, y'all just doing it big, okay? And then you're going to turn around another month or so from now and put all the Christmas stuff in its place. And seeing what some of those things cost in this society where we keep talking about it's the economy, stupid. And, we basically have issues with money. When I'm looking at what some of you are spending the money on, it's kind of crazy to me. That's all I'm saying. Some of y'all are spending hundreds upon hundreds of dollars on Halloween stuff. And then you will turn around next year and not utilize the stuff you bought this year, but actually turn around and buy some all new Halloween stuff for next year. Oh, we can't use that. That's from last year. We got to have all new stuff this year. That's a lot. That's a lot to put on it, okay? But my whole thing is, must we be complete? I mean, for those of us who don't celebrate Halloween, and of course, see, that's the real issue. You a hater because you don't celebrate it. No, because one of my favorite things is to look on Facebook, Instagram, whatnot, in the week of Halloween and see everybody's different costumes and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? I'm almost tempted to celebrate Halloween just because of that, because I like the whole costume aspect of it, But again, that's just one of the components this year. It's all type of other stuff that come into play. And it's sad that we can't really celebrate Halloween in a lot of places like we would like to because of how people deal with their children nowadays and some of the foul stuff people do to the Halloween candy and all of that. It's bad that you got to worry about. I mean, it's also good, though, that they do have a lot of programs now where kids can go and have a safe Halloween in the police station and places like that. That's kind of cool. But I'm just saying, billions upon billions of dollars for Halloween, and then these will be the same people talking about how deep in the debt they are later on between Halloween and Christmas. I'm just saying, sometimes we got to look at what we are consuming and using our money on and realize maybe we kind of overdoing this thing. That's all I'm saying. Another thing of note I want to point out is there are some good things going on in the world. And usually this time of year, we start to see a lot of that going into the Christmas holiday and whatnot, people utilizing their good to do good. I am very thankful and liking that very much. As we find out these stories, people, do me a favor. Since we like to challenge each other all the time and do these challenges and whatnot, let me offer my own challenge. If there is a article, if there is a story, if there is a thing in your locale where they are doing some good work for people, can you post that? Can you put that in the comment? Can you send a link to that? Let's start celebrating some of these stories, okay? Part of why a lot of y'all don't like the mainstream media news is because it is based upon the algorithm that they say, yeah, they like to watch the negative news more than they like to watch the positive news. So let's focus on the negative stuff more than the positive stuff. I think there are some of you that would like to hear more positive news on a regular basis. So we can all put our heads together and combine our efforts and find these good stories and promote and put them out there for public consumption. I think that would be a good thing. Okay. For example, there is a story that occurred here in the city where they are having the young people come in to get eye exams and also in turn purchasing eyeglasses for them, because oftentimes you are a family and you can't afford a luxury like eyewear, even though that should not be a luxury. That should be one of those things that, as one of the largest nations in the world and the biggest money, shouldn't be no issue with getting eyeglasses for anybody. I'm just saying. But yeah, they are an organization that has not only paid for the eye exams, but for the eyewear for the children. And that, I believe, is a Wayne County organization. I didn't get the full story. If I can find that and post that next time around, I shall. But yeah, those are the types of stories we look for. Things where good things are happening in your community. Good things are happening. Good people are being that. Sports Guru, to you checking in. That's good to hear. And also know, those glasses and exams can be very costly. They absolutely can be and absolutely are. So the fact that there's organizations that are willing to put forth that type of money to make it to where these things get done is good. And think about it. Part of some of the issues that some of our children have in school is simply that. Okay, I want to learn, but because I could barely see the board or I can't really read the letters correctly, it makes me disinterested in school. And as a result, I don't put forth the proper effort. But I'm also ashamed to say that, okay, I need glasses because I know my family can't afford all that. And I'm not going to like people calling me 4 hours and all that stuff. So basically, if you're in a scenario where the whole school done got looked out for and everybody that need glasses got glasses, it hit a little different. Because keep in mind, not only is this organization buying the eyeglasses for the children, they are also giving them different frames to choose from. It's not a one-size-fit-all type of scenario. So they basically can get some sexy specs or something like that. Not that kids have sexy specs, but you know what I'm saying. They ain't your, stereotypical run-of-the-mill glasses. They're actually some stylish glasses. That's what I'm trying to get at. So yeah, we want to find more stories like that. So in the weeks and the months to come, let us all come together, whether on the radio side or here on the visual side, and find these stories and let's promote them. Let's let people know. Yes, good people out here doing good things. It ain't all gloom and doom. It ain't all people plotting on everybody and not loving everybody. It's people actually looking out for each other and doing all these great things. Let us promote the army of good, okay? Can we do that? I would appreciate it. At any rate, it is time to call it a day. This has been Get Off This Lawn / I Am Nighthawk Pod Show. E-Buck in the building. We about to go shut it down, blow my nose, all that good stuff, and call it a day. Thank you for listening. Again, you can find the radio version of this show on WTEA Radio. You can find that on Live 365. You also can find this on the Nighthawk Network radio station on Live 365. In order to find that, you can go to my Facebook page. You will find a link that will take you there. and it will take you to the station, or you can just type in on your app store, Live 365, get that app on your phone, and then look up Nighthawk Network Radio, and you will find us there. We appreciate you. Thank you. One last comment before we go. One of the coolest things I heard about for schools, they bought some washing machines and dryers for the kids so they can have clean clothes. Yes, I saw that story also. Keep in mind, for those of you in the Detroit area, that is the case. If you would like to donate to that cause, to where you can buy detergent for the clothes, or dryer sheets, or even garment bags for people to put the clothes in, all that good stuff, they are accepting those donations at the schools that are basically participating in that program. So yeah, let's do that. So it is what it is, good people. We headed out. Until next time, be blessed, don't stress. When all else fails, put your hands together in the hands of the man and let him deal with the rest. We will catch you on the flip. This has been your boy E-Buck. I am Nighthawk Pod Show. Looking for that outro, and there it is. And y'all know what it is. We outie.
This has been the I Am Nighthawk podcast. A Nighthawk Network presentation. Nighthawk Network, our voices for our people.